We start out west where the Timberwolves and Nuggets face off in Game 2 tonight. Anthony Edwards is looking to repeat his Game 1 performance where he had 43 points, which are the most in a playoff game in Timberwolves history. Edwards now has 3 40-point games in the playoffs, more than any Minnesota player ever. Minnesota could go up 2-0 in this series on the Nuggets with a win tonight. Only one other team in the association has won the first 2 games of a best-of-7 series on the defending champs' home court. But it won't be easy for Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves if history serves, because the Nuggets have never gone down 2-0 at home in the 21 playoff series that they have played. What say you, reporter Dave McMenamin, who is covering the series for us? And look, I've lost count of the adjectives to describe Anthony Edwards, so now I'm going to look to you as someone who's been around this team so much. What are his own teammates saying about his performances lately?
Well, I talked to Jaden McDaniels about Edwards yesterday, and I was like, in what ways does he seem like he's 22? In other ways, does he seem wiser than his years? And McDaniel's like, you can only look at our kind of silly handshakes and celebrations. That guy looks like he's 22. But the way he's been dominating the playoffs thus far, McDaniel said he reminds him of a player who's 30 years old and in his prime. I also talked to Mike Conley about Anthony Edwards, and he said the growth that we've seen over the last several months really comes down to him knowing he can dominate the game, but when he starts to get double-teamed and sometimes triple-teamed, making the right reads and trying to set up his teammates for success. Really, that's kind of the biggest mark of a great player, is if they can make their teammates better. Now, one of his teammates he may not have available in Game 2 is Rudy Gobert, who is listed as questionable by the Timberwolves because of personal reasons. ESPN's Tim McMenamin is reporting that Gobert and his partner welcomed in a new baby to the world this morning. I'm told by a team source that it truly is questionable. They don't know at this time whether he'll be able to make it to Denver in time for tip-off to play in Game 2.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that situation. In the meantime, let's go over to the Denver side of things now, because the defending champs are already down 1-0 in this series. And so what is Michael Malone talking about?
Well, you think back to the last 14 games these two teams have played, starting at the beginning of the 22-23 season. There's only been 10 points separating them. With that said, with that razor-thin margin for error, Denver coach Mike Malone needs his team to get off to a better start. They ended up winning the first quarter in Game 1, actually 25-23, but they fell into an 18-4 hole to start things off, and they needed to expend energy to come back. This comes on the heels of the first round when they were outscored by the Lakers by 23 points in the first quarter over those 5 games. And so Malone basically said after the team's film session on Sunday that he challenged the starters to come out and play better. He said, what are you waiting for? Why not now? This is the first time in their championship run that began last year in the playoffs that they've trailed in the series. And we'll see if those starters, who are held around the league as the best starting group in all of basketball, if they can make an impact from the opening tip.
Yeah, the beginning ends, but also the end, especially when you're facing a guy like Anthony Edwards, who's averaging almost 11 points in the fourth quarter, more by any player throughout this postseason. Dave McMenamin with the latest there from Denver. Thank you, Dave.
All right, let's bring back our Kendrick, who never has a beef with anyone, always happy. Hey, Perk, how concerning, we just talked about Denver, best starting 5 in the league, everybody thinks. So, I mean, how concerning is it to you, these slow starts that they get off to?
I mean, it's not that concerning, but you do have question marks on why, right? When you think about the Denver Nuggets, why are they not punching first? We know that they're still hungry, but are they starving? That's the question. They have one championship as a group. Are they starving for another one? Or are they just hungry? And the thing is that you want to look at the young players, Michael Porter Jr., right? Can he continue to come out there with the elite performance he's been giving offensively? Can Jamal Murray, can he get off to better starts? He's been struggling early of late. But when you think about the Denver Nuggets, I mean, they've been here before, right? They know how to battle. They know how to stay even kill. But you would love to see them get off to a stronger start, and especially at home and dealing with that altitude when it comes down to their opponents.
Yeah, and they were starving last year, which is why they got that ring. They couldn't get over the hump, but now they're facing a Minnesota team, young and hungry. Maybe they're starving. Now the betting favorite to win the series, according to ESPN Bet. So we know Minnesota went in there and stole game one. Who do you believe, regardless of ESPN Bet, should be the favorite now heading into game two and the rest of the series?
Well, I got Denver tying it up tonight, but I got Minnesota winning this series in 7. I feel like they have the better team. I feel like Anthony Edwards is ready for the moments to lead this team, especially in the clutch time. When you look at what Karl Anthony Towns could bring to the table, a guy that could post you up, a guy that got the package on the offensive end. And look, Matt, they defend like crazy. When you're talking about guys that could test shots at the rim and on the perimeter. Jay McDaniels, he's a problem. I don't know how healthy, Jamal Murray is at this moment, but at the end of the day, if he got to deal with those dogs, and I mean Rottweilers, that they have on the perimeter with Minnesota, it's going to be a problem. I got Minnesota to win this series, and I also got Minnesota to go to the NBA Finals and represent the Western Conference.
That was going to be the follow-up. Are they now your favorite in the Western Conference? And imagine that, this young core, and a young budding superstar in Anthony Edwards, who is going for his 3rd straight 40-point game. See that? Kendricks can be happy too. More from Perk later.